Eleanor Winters sat alone on her private balcony, cradling a glass of Cabernet in the golden glow of the Napa Valley sunset. Below, the resort's impeccable vineyards stretched toward the horizon, each row of vines meticulously tended much like the family fortune she had cultivated for decades. She took a slow sip, letting the rich flavor settle on her tongue as her eyes drifted to the envelope resting on the table beside her. Inside was the receipt for this family reunion, $45,000 for a week at the Silver Oak Estate, Napa's most exclusive resort. Money well spent, she told herself, if it brought her scattered family together. Yet after 4 days, Eleanor couldn't shake the hollow feeling in her chest. At 65, she had everything most people spent their lives chasing: a sprawling home in San Francisco's Pacific Heights, a summer cottage in Martha's Vineyard, investment properties across 3 states, and a net worth that had recently crossed the $42 million mark. But the one thing she truly wanted, genuine connection with her 3 adult children, seemed perpetually beyond her reach. Eleanor watched her reflection in the wine glass, taking in the elegant silver hair she maintained in a classic bob, the fine lines around her eyes that spoke of both laughter and loss. Her late husband Robert had always told her those lines were wisdom marks, earned through years of bold decisions and calculated risks as they built Winters Media Group from a small advertising agency into one of the West Coast's premier communication empires. A knock at the door pulled her from her reverie. "Mom, are you decent?" Olivia's voice carried through the door. Eleanor smoothed her silk blouse. "Come in, sweetheart." Olivia entered with the careful grace of someone navigating a museum. At 42, she was a striking woman who had inherited Eleanor's height and Robert's artistic sensibility. Today, she wore a flowing maxi dress adorned with her own hand-painted designs, one of her many creative ventures that never quite translated into commercial success. "The family's gathering for dinner in 30 minutes, Olivia said, her gaze drifting to the wine bottle. "James insisted on a formal family dinner tonight, so Harper is making sure everyone's dressed appropriately." Eleanor smiled. "Trust James's wife to maintain protocol. I'll be down shortly. Is everything all right? You seem distracted." Olivia hesitated, tucking a strand of chestnut hair behind her ear, a gesture Eleanor recognized from childhood as a prelude to asking for something. "Actually, Mom, I was hoping we could talk tomorrow about the studio space I mentioned. The owner needs an answer by the end of the month, and the timing is just perfect with the downtown arts district revival." There it was. Eleanor felt a familiar weight settle in her stomach. "Of course, darling. We'll make time tomorrow." Olivia brightened instantly. "Perfect. I prepared some sketches of the renovation plans. Marcus thinks it could transform the local art scene." After Olivia left, Eleanor remained seated, staring at the vineyard below. This conversation had followed the same pattern as the one with James yesterday about his investment fund's liquidity issues, and Nathan's pitch this morning regarding his new startup after his previous venture collapsed. Each interaction began with casual pleasantries before inevitably circling to financial needs. The mathematics of her children's attention had become painfully predictable. 4 years without gathering the entire family together. Yet, within 48 hours of arrival, each child had managed to schedule a private conversation about their latest financial requirements. Eleanor finished her wine and stood, smoothing the wrinkles from her linen pants. The suite's living room was scattered with evidence of family occupancy: Harper's fashion magazines, Marcus's architecture journals, Lily's sketchbook. Her 17-year-old granddaughter was the only one who hadn't asked for anything yet. The family dinner had been James's idea, a formal affair in a private dining room overlooking the estate's oldest vineyard. Eleanor arrived precisely on time to find everyone else already seated, an unusual display of punctuality that immediately aroused her suspicion. James, her eldest at 45, rose to pull out her chair. With his carefully maintained physique and prematurely salt and pepper hair, he projected the image of success he'd cultivated as a financial advisor. "Mom, you look lovely." "Thank you, James. This is quite the formal arrangement." Eleanor surveyed the table as she took her seat. The room was beautiful, with floor-to-ceiling windows and elegant table settings illuminated by candlelight. "We wanted one proper family dinner," Harper explained, her impeccable appearance from her blonde chignon to her pearls reflecting her background in corporate public relations. "It's rare to have everyone together." Eleanor glanced around the table, taking inventory of her family. Beside Harper sat the twins, Alexander and Andrew, 16-year-old boys absorbed in their phones, despite the no devices rule their mother had undoubtedly established. Next came Nathan and Vanessa, her youngest son and his second wife, whose relationship seemed perpetually new, despite 3 years of marriage. Nathan, at 38, still possessed the restless energy that had characterized his childhood, manifesting now in his constant entrepreneurial pivots. Across the table sat Olivia with her husband Marcus, an architect whose genuine talent was undermined by his tendency to follow passing trends rather than establishing his own vision. Beside them was Lily, Eleanor's only granddaughter, observing everything with intelligent eyes that reminded Eleanor of Robert. "Where's Brandon?" Eleanor asked, noticing Nathan's stepson was missing. "Gaming tournament in his room," Nathan replied with a shrug. "Teenager priorities." The dinner progressed pleasantly enough through the appetizer course, a discussion of the resort's amenities, the wine tour they'd taken yesterday, the couple's massage that Harper and James had enjoyed that morning. Eleanor found herself relaxing slightly, wondering if perhaps she'd been too cynical in her assessment of their motivations. Then, as the main course arrived, perfectly seared salmon with seasonal vegetables, James cleared his throat, signaling a shift in conversation. "Mom, we've been thinking about your upcoming birthday milestone," he began, his professional voice emerging. "65 is significant. Have you given any thought to legacy planning?" Eleanor carefully placed her fork on her plate. "My estate plan is comprehensive and updated regularly." "James, you know that." "Of course," he nodded. "But I'm thinking beyond the technical aspects, about impact. Your generation is redefining retirement, focusing on meaning and purpose." He sounded like he was delivering a client presentation. "Many of my clients are exploring strategic philanthropy aligned with family business interests." And there it was so smoothly introduced that most people wouldn't recognize it as a fishing expedition into her charitable intentions versus family inheritance. "That's an interesting perspective," Eleanor replied neutrally, taking a sip of water. Olivia jumped in. "Speaking of purpose, Mom, I'd love to show you some community outreach programs I've designed for the studio. Art therapy for underprivileged children, senior creativity workshops, initiatives that could carry the Winters name forward in the community." Nathan, never one to miss an opportunity, added, "My new platform actually addresses similar needs in the tech space, connecting isolated seniors with digital literacy programs. The social impact potential is enormous, with the right backing." Eleanor felt a familiar tension headache beginning at her temples. The coordinated nature of their approaches was almost impressive. Each child had found an angle to position their financial needs as legacy opportunities for her. "These all sound like worthy endeavors," she said carefully. "I'd be happy to discuss each of them individually during the remainder of our stay." The conversation shifted to safer topics through dessert, but Eleanor's mind remained stuck on the orchestrated nature of their appeals. It wasn't that she begrudged helping her children, she'd always been generous, funding college educations, providing down payments for homes, investing in their business ventures, covering private school tuition for the grandchildren. But something about tonight felt different, more calculated. After dinner, Eleanor excused herself, claiming fatigue. Instead of returning to her suite, however, she took a detour through the resort's garden pathways, needing fresh air and solitude to process her thoughts. The night air carried the scent of lavender and earth as she wandered through the meticulously landscaped grounds. She found herself on a stone terrace overlooking the same vineyard visible from her balcony. About to sit on a bench, she stopped when she heard familiar voices from around the corner. "Handled it perfectly," Harper was saying. "The legacy angle was inspired. James, let's not celebrate yet. Mom's sharp, she might have picked up on the coordination." James's voice carried clearly in the night air. Eleanor froze, then silently moved closer to the conversation, hidden from view by a large topiary. "At least our asks don't directly compete." Olivia's voice now. "The chat group was a good idea, making sure we're not undermining each other." Eleanor's breath caught. "Chat group. We still need to be careful," Nathan said. "Mom's been more hesitant lately about funding requests. The last thing we need is for her to feel ambushed. She has $42 million. Vanessa's voice was incredulous. "Your fund needs capital. Olivia's studio is a passion project, and our startup costs are minimal compared to her net worth." "What's the issue?" "The issue," James replied, his tone professorial, "is that wealthy parents are increasingly directing assets to philanthropy instead of family inheritance. We need to position ourselves within her legacy vision, not against it." Eleanor felt physically ill. She had suspected coordination, yes, but not this level of strategic planning around her wealth. "I still think we should just be direct," Marcus said. "Your mother appreciates straightforwardness. That approach hasn't worked for you in securing design contracts for Olivia's previous studios. Has it?" Harper's voice was polite but cutting. "The point is," James took control of the conversation, "we stay coordinated but not obvious. Each of us has scheduled individual time with mom this week. Stick to your talking points, emphasize the alignment with her values, and don't make it exclusively about money. And if she says no, Olivia's voice carried a note of anxiety. She won't, James said confidently. Mom's greatest fear is being irrelevant to our lives. Financial support is how she stays connected. The casual cruelty of his accurate assessment struck Eleanor like a physical blow. She backed away silently, her designer sandals soundless on the stone path, and returned to her suite through a different route. Back in her room, Eleanor poured herself another glass of wine with shaking hands. The conversation replayed in her mind, each word a fresh cut, a chat group to coordinate financial requests, talking points, strategic approaches to access her wealth. When had her relationship with her children transformed into this transactional arrangement? When had she become a resource to be managed rather than a mother to be loved? Eleanor glanced at the family photo on her nightstand, taken during their last gathering 4 years ago. The smiles now seemed performative, the poses calculated. She picked up the frame, studying each face. Had it always been this way? Had she simply refused to see it, Robert would have noticed. Her late husband had always been more clear-eyed about family dynamics, gently warning her about creating dependency through excessive generosity. Money should enable growth, Ellie, not replace it, he'd told her repeatedly during their 35-year marriage. After his sudden death from a heart attack 7 years ago, Eleanor had doubled down on financial support, perhaps trying to compensate for their loss with material security. Writing checks was easier than navigating grief together. Solving problems with money was simpler than sitting with emotional discomfort. Sleep eluded her that night as Eleanor wrestled with painful realizations about the family she'd built. By dawn, she had moved through shock and hurt to something approaching clarity. She needed distance, physical and emotional, to reassess these relationships. Eleanor rose early, performed her usual morning routine, and then did something unprecedented. She packed her bags, called the resort's private car service, and arranged for a 7 a.m. departure to San Francisco. She left a brief note for the family, explaining that an unexpected business matter required her immediate attention, thanking them for the lovely time together, and promising to be in touch soon. It wasn't entirely a lie. The business that needed attention was indeed the business of their family relationships, though not in the way they would assume. The car arrived discreetly at a side entrance, and Eleanor was on the road before the rest of her family had even begun stirring for breakfast. As the vineyard landscapes gave way to highway views, she felt a complex mixture of emotions: guilt at her abrupt departure, anger at the manipulations she'd uncovered, and underneath it all, a profound sadness for connections that had become primarily transactional. By the time Eleanor reached her Pacific Heights home, the family group chat was buzzing with confused messages about her disappearance. She read them without responding, noting how quickly concern about her well-being shifted to anxiety about the individual meetings she'd canceled. James' mom left. Did anyone know about this? Olivia, nothing? Her closet is empty, and the note just mentions business matters. Nathan, what about our meeting on the startup? Did she say anything to anyone, James? Let's not panic. I'll call her assistant and find out what's happening. Olivia, should we be worried this isn't like her? Harper, perhaps we came on too strong at dinner. James, everyone stay calm. I'll handle this and report back. Eleanor silenced her phone and walked through her quiet home. The housekeeper wasn't expected until tomorrow, leaving her truly alone for the first time in months. The solitude felt unexpectedly comforting as she moved from room to room, seeing her space with fresh eyes. The home was beautiful, a showcase of success, with its panoramic views of the Golden Gate Bridge, museum-quality art collection, and perfectly appointed rooms. Yet today, it struck her as a stage set rather than a lived-in family home. When was the last time her children had gathered here without some financial incentive or holiday obligation? In Robert's study, maintained exactly as he left it, Eleanor settled into his leather chair and opened her laptop. The business acumen that had helped build their media empire was still sharp, and she intended to apply it to this most personal of problems. First, she made a spreadsheet, methodically. She cataloged every significant financial support she provided to each child over the past 5 years. College funds for the grandchildren, business investments, home down payments, debt consolidation, gallery backing for Olivia, seed money for Nathan's ventures, management fees to James for overseeing portions of her portfolio. The total exceeded $4.7 million, almost $1 million annually divided among 3 households that were already comfortable by any reasonable standard. The pattern was clear and disturbing. Regular infusions of capital had replaced regular emotional connection. Next, Eleanor called her longtime attorney, Richard Patterson. Eleanor, what a pleasant surprise. His familiar voice carried decades of professional history. "How's the family retreat?" "Illuminating," she replied. "I need to see you this week. Richard, I'm making changes to my estate plan and financial arrangements." A beat of silence. "Significant changes?" "Yes. Are you available tomorrow?" They scheduled a meeting for the following afternoon. Next, Eleanor contacted Abigail Chen, a family psychologist she'd met through philanthropic work. "Dr. Chen, this is Eleanor Winters. I apologize for calling out of the blue, but I'm facing a family situation that requires professional guidance." "Of course, Mrs. Winters, how can I help?" "I've realized my relationship with my adult children has become unhealthily centered around financial support. I'm planning to significantly alter these arrangements, but I want to do so in a way that might eventually strengthen our relationships rather than destroy them." "That's a complex situation," Dr. Chen replied thoughtfully. "Would you like to schedule a private consultation first, or are you thinking of family therapy?" "Both. I think I need to sort through my own feelings before addressing the family dynamics." With these appointments arranged, Eleanor finally allowed herself to check her messages. 14 missed calls, 5 from James, 4 from Olivia, 3 from Nathan, 1 each from Harper and Marcus. Numerous texts expressing escalating concern about both her well-being and the status of their financial discussions. Rather than responding individually, Eleanor sent a group text, "I'm home safely. Needed time to think. We'll be in touch soon about important family matters. Love, Mom." The response was immediate, James. "What family matters? Is everything okay? Should I come over, Olivia?" "Mom, you scared us." "What's going on, Nathan? Is this about the resort dinner? We were just talking about potential opportunities." Eleanor turned off notifications and poured herself a cup of tea. Through the window, she watched the late afternoon fog roll in, enveloping the Golden Gate in its mystical embrace. The view had always calmed her, a reminder that some things remained constant despite life's turbulence. Her children's reaction, immediately assuming something was wrong rather than respecting her need for space, confirmed what she already knew. Their concern was genuine, but wrapped in self-interest. They weren't worried about her. They were worried about changes that might affect them. The next morning, Eleanor met with Dr. Chen at the psychologist's comfortable office overlooking Union Square. The space was designed for comfort, natural light, soft seating, and thoughtfully placed art created an atmosphere of safety. "Tell me what prompted this realization about your family dynamics," Dr. Chen began after preliminaries. Eleanor recounted the vineyard conversation she'd overheard, trying to maintain analytical distance but feeling the emotional impact freshly with each detail she shared. "And this was the first time you recognized this pattern?" Dr. Chen asked gently. Eleanor sighed. "No, if I'm honest with myself, I've seen signs for years. The calls that only come when financial needs arise. The grandchildren who barely know me beyond holiday gatherings. The way conversations inevitably turn to business opportunities and investments. What's different now? Hearing them discuss me as a resource to be managed that was illuminating. James saying my greatest fear is being irrelevant to their lives." Eleanor's voice caught. "The worst part is that he's right, and they're using that knowledge strategically." Dr. Chen nodded. "Family systems often develop patterns that serve certain functions. Even when those patterns become unhealthy, your financial generosity has become the primary mode of connection, replacing more meaningful forms of relationship." "Exactly. And I've enabled this, perhaps even created it." "Understanding your role is important," Dr. Chen acknowledged. "What are you hoping to achieve by changing these patterns?" "Now," Eleanor considered the question, "I want authentic relationships with my children and grandchildren, connections based on mutual respect and genuine affection, not financial dependency. I want to know if those relationships can exist without my checkbook." That's a profound goal and a challenging journey. Are you prepared for significant resistance? Changing established family systems often triggers intense reactions. "I expect it," Eleanor nodded. "But continuing this way feels increasingly hollow. If financial support is the only value I bring to my children's lives, then perhaps those aren't relationships worth preserving in their current form." Dr. Chen leaned forward slightly. "Before we discuss implementation strategies, I'd like to explore something. You mentioned your late husband warned about creating dependency through generosity. How did his approach to parenting differ from yours?" The question touched a sensitive point. "Robert was more," Eleanor searched for the right words, "measured. He believed in supporting the children to a point, then letting them find their own way. After his death, I think I used money to fill the gaps, both his absence and my emotional availability. Grief can profoundly impact family dynamics," Dr. Chen observed. Have you and your children ever properly processed Robert's death together? Eleanor felt a tightness in her throat. No. We handled the practical matters, the funeral, the estate, the business transition. But the emotional aspects, she shook her head. I threw myself into work and philanthropy. The children returned to their lives. We never really talked about what his loss meant to each of us. That unprocessed grief might be contributing to the current dynamics. Financial dependency could be substituting for emotional connection that feels too painful to establish directly. The insight landed with surprising force. Eleanor had never considered that her financial generosity might be a way of avoiding deeper, more vulnerable connections with her children. What do you recommend? She asked. A measured approach, Dr. Chen replied. Rather than abruptly cutting financial ties, which could be perceived as punishment, consider establishing clear boundaries while opening new channels for emotional connection. And if you're open to it, family therapy might provide a structured environment to address these patterns together. Eleanor left the session with a clearer understanding of both her own motivations and potential paths forward. The conversation with Richard Patterson that afternoon had a different tone but proved equally illuminating. In his downtown office with its leather-bound law books and commanding views of the financial district, Richard listened carefully as Eleanor outlined her intentions. So, to summarize, he said when she finished, you want to honor existing commitments but establish new parameters for family financial support going forward. You want to maintain the educational trusts for your grandchildren, but redirect a significant portion of your estate toward philanthropic endeavors. And you want to create a foundation focused on meaningful aging and intergenerational connection. Precisely, Eleanor confirmed. I need to break the pattern of dependency I've created while still being responsible to commitments I've already made. Richard leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. I've known you and your family for over 30 years. Eleanor, may I speak frankly? Of course. These changes, while entirely within your rights, will likely create significant friction. Your children have grown accustomed to a certain level of ongoing support. Changing those expectations won't be easy. I'm aware. From a strictly legal perspective, everything you're proposing is straightforward, but from a family dynamics perspective, he hesitated. I've seen wealth transitions create permanent fractures in families. Are you prepared for that possibility? Eleanor felt the weight of his question. I believe continuing the current pattern would create its own kind of fracture, one where we maintain the appearance of family while functioning more as business associates. I'd rather risk honest conflict than continue with comfortable pretense. Richard nodded slowly. Well said. I'll have the preliminary documents ready by the end of the week. In the meantime, how do you plan to communicate these changes? I'm organizing a family meeting here this weekend. I'd like you to attend briefly to answer any technical questions, but the conversation needs to be primarily about relationships, not legal structures. 2 days later, Eleanor sat in her garden, watching the late afternoon light filter through the Japanese maples that Robert had planted decades ago. The documents from Richard sat on the table beside her trust modifications, foundation articles, revised estate plans, all ready for implementation. Her conversation with Dr. Chen had helped clarify her approach to the upcoming family meeting, focusing on honesty without accusation. The doorbell interrupted her thoughts. She wasn't expecting anyone until the family gathering tomorrow. Maria, her housekeeper of 15 years, appeared at the garden door. Ms. Winters, your granddaughter Lily is here. She seems upset. Eleanor rose immediately. Please send her out. Moments later, Lily appeared, looking both resolute and vulnerable in her vintage clothing and combat boots, her particular blend of artistic sensitivity and teenage rebellion. At 17, she was strikingly like Olivia at that age, but with a sharper edge of self-awareness. Lily, sweetheart, this is a surprise. Eleanor embraced her granddaughter, feeling the girl's tension. Is everything all right? Lily pulled back, her expression troubled. Not really, Grandma. I needed to talk to you before tomorrow's meeting. Mom and Dad don't know I'm here. Eleanor gestured to the garden seating. Of course. What's happening? Lily sat, fidgeting with the multiple rings on her fingers. First, I want you to know I'm really sorry about what happened at the resort. The way everyone left without saying goodbye properly was awful. Thank you, but you have nothing to apologize for. I do, though, Lily insisted, because I knew what was happening and didn't say anything. She took a deep breath. Mom and the others didn't leave because of sudden flight changes. They planned it after they realized you'd gone to bed upset. Eleanor felt a chill despite the warm afternoon. What do you mean? I overheard them talking that night. Aunt Harper said it would be better to avoid another emotional conversation with you. Uncle James thought leaving early would give you time to cool off before they approached you individually about their projects. The calculated nature of their departure was worse than Eleanor had imagined. I see, she said quietly. There's more, Lily continued, her voice gaining strength. They have a group chat called Winter Assets where they coordinate how to approach you about money. They've been strategizing for weeks about the retreat, assigning different talking points so they wouldn't overlap their asks. Eleanor tried to maintain composure, but the name of the chat group reducing her to an asset to be managed stung deeply. How do you know about this chat? Lily looked down. Mom left her iPad logged in a few weeks ago. I saw notifications coming in and I was curious. She met Eleanor's eyes. I know it was wrong to look, but once I started reading, I couldn't stop. It was like discovering this whole secret world where they discuss you like, like a bank rather than a mother. Eleanor supplied gently. Yes. Lily's eyes filled with tears. And now they're freaking out about tomorrow's meeting. Dad told Mom he thinks you might be cutting them off financially. Uncle James said something about checking into whether your judgment could be questioned if you start making irrational financial decisions. Eleanor felt physically ill. They're discussing challenging my mental competence. Not directly, but Uncle James mentioned something about capacity concerns if you make drastic changes. Lily reached for Eleanor's hand. Grandma, there's one more thing. I found a draft email on Mom's computer to a lawyer, asking about options if you showed signs of diminished capacity. She never sent it, but just the fact that she wrote it. The betrayal cut deep, but Eleanor squeezed Lily's hand reassuringly. Thank you for telling me, Lily. This can't have been easy for you. I just don't understand them. Lily's composure cracked. You've done everything for us. Paid for my school, funded Mom's galleries, helped Uncle Nathan after his company failed. How can they treat you like this? Eleanor considered her words carefully. Relationships with adult children are complicated, especially when money becomes central to those relationships, and I bear responsibility for creating these patterns. But it's not fair to you? Perhaps not, but tomorrow isn't about fairness, it's about honesty and finding a healthier way forward. Eleanor studied her granddaughter's troubled face. Lily, why did you decide to tell me this? Lily straightened her shoulders. Because you deserve the truth, and because she hesitated. Because when I was 10 and had that terrible case of pneumonia, you came and stayed with us for 3 weeks while Mom and Dad were busy with the gallery opening. You read to me every night, played board games when I felt stronger, and made me laugh when everything hurt. Eleanor remembered that time Olivia and Marcus had been consumed with a gallery launch that ultimately failed, leaving their daughter's care largely to Eleanor. You didn't just send money for a nurse or something, Lily continued. You showed up. That's who you really are, Grandma, not an asset to be managed or a bank to make withdrawals from. You're a person who shows up. The simple observation brought tears to Eleanor's eyes. Thank you for reminding me of that, sweetheart. They talked until evening shadows lengthened across the garden. Eleanor learned more about the family dynamics from Lily's perspective, how her parents discussed Eleanor's wealth as if it were partially theirs already, how the cousins picked up on the adults' patterns, how uncomfortable these conversations made Lily feel. What will you do tomorrow? Lily finally asked as Eleanor walked her to the door. Speak the truth with compassion, Eleanor replied, and hope that honesty creates an opportunity for real connection. After Lily left, Eleanor made 2 phone calls, the first to Dr. Chen, briefly explaining what she'd learned and confirming the psychologist's attendance at tomorrow's family meeting. The second to Richard Patterson, asking him to prepare additional documentation based on this new information. That night, Eleanor opened the carved wooden box she kept on her bedside table. Inside was a sealed envelope with her name written in Robert's distinctive handwriting. He had given it to her on their last anniversary before his death, with instructions not to open it until she really needed his advice. For 7 years, she had preserved this final communication, saving it for a moment of true necessity. Tonight felt like that moment. With trembling fingers, she broke the seal. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Robert's message was brief but profound. My dearest Ellie, if you're reading this, you're facing a challenge that feels insurmountable. I wish I could be there to help shoulder the burden, but know that you have always possessed the strength required for difficult moments, even when you doubt yourself. Throughout our life together, I've watched you lead with both brilliance and heart. Your only blind spot has been seeing clearly when love and business intersect, especially with our children. You've always given generously, sometimes too generously, hoping that material support could express what words and presence might communicate more effectively. Remember, Our children need boundaries as much as they need backing. They need your wisdom more than your wealth. And sometimes, the most loving gift is allowing someone to find their own way through challenge. Whatever you're facing, lead with the truth. It may not be the easiest path, but it's the only one that honors the family we've built. All my love, always. Robert Eleanor read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down her face, even from beyond. Robert understood exactly what she needed to hear. His words reinforced her resolve to transform her relationships with their children, however difficult the process might be. Tomorrow would bring confrontation and probably conflict, but it would also bring honesty, the first step toward authentic connection. Eleanor placed the letter back in its envelope, tucked it into the wooden box, and prepared for the most important family meeting of her life. The following morning dawned clear and bright, sunlight streaming through the bay windows of Eleanor's home as Maria prepared coffee and arranged platters of pastries in the formal dining room. Eleanor had chosen this setting deliberately. The room held decades of family memories, from birthday celebrations to holiday gatherings to Robert's wake 7 years ago. Dr. Chen arrived first, her calm presence reassuring as they reviewed the approach for the meeting. Richard Patterson followed shortly after, bringing the final documentation Eleanor had requested. Remember, Dr. Chen advised as they heard cars pulling into the driveway. This isn't about accusations or blame. It's about establishing new patterns for healthier relationships. Eleanor nodded, smoothing her silk blouse and straightening her shoulders. The doorbell rang, and the family reunion she had originally sought in Napa Valley was about to begin, though not in the way anyone had anticipated. James and Harper arrived first, their expressions a mixture of concern and calculation. Olivia and Marcus followed moments later, with Nathan and Vanessa pulling up last. Eleanor greeted each of them warmly but briefly in the foyer before directing them to the dining room, where Dr. Chen and Richard Patterson waited. "Mom, what's going on?" James asked, his eyes darting between the attorney and psychologist. "Your messages have been cryptic, and now we find a lawyer and—" he glanced at Dr. Chen questioningly. "Dr. Abigail Chen, family psychologist," Eleanor supplied. "Please, everyone take a seat. We have important matters to discuss." The tension in the room was palpable as everyone settled around the mahogany table where countless family dinners had been shared. Eleanor remained standing, gathering her thoughts as she looked at each face in turn. "I've asked you here because our family has reached a crossroads," she began, her voice steady. "The patterns we've established over the years, particularly since your father's death, are no longer serving any of us well. It's time for honesty and, I hope, healing." Nathan shifted uncomfortably. "Mom, if this is about the resort dinner—" "It's about much more than one dinner," Eleanor interrupted gently. "It's about the nature of our relationships and how financial dependency has gradually replaced genuine connection." She watched their expressions carefully, James maintaining practiced neutrality, Olivia beginning to look distressed, Nathan's face flushing slightly. "I know about the group chat," Eleanor continued, her voice soft but firm. "I know about the coordinated financial requests, the strategic approaches, the talking points you've assigned to maximize access to my wealth." The shocked silence that followed confirmed everything. Harper paled visibly, while Marcus looked at the floor. "How did you—" James began. "Does it matter?" Eleanor asked. "What matters is that my own children have been treating me as an asset to be managed rather than a mother to be loved." "That's not fair," Olivia protested, tears forming. "We love you, Mom. Yes, we coordinate sometimes about financial discussions, but that's to avoid overwhelming you with separate requests." "Is that why you left the resort early, to avoid overwhelming me?" Eleanor's question hung in the air. James recovered first. "We had flights to catch, Mom. We explained that in our note." "Please," Eleanor said tiredly, "let's not compound the problem with continued deception. I know the departure was planned to avoid an emotional conversation with me." The stunned silence told her everything. Their eyes darted between each other, wordlessly trying to identify the source of the leak. "I'm not here to shame or blame any of you," Eleanor continued. "I've contributed to these patterns as much as anyone. After your father died, I used financial support as a substitute for the emotional connection I didn't know how to maintain. Money became my primary language of love, and you all adapted accordingly." Nathan leaned forward. "Mom, we appreciate everything you've done for us. If we've seemed focused on financial matters, it's only because that's the relationship we've established." Eleanor finished for him. "When was the last time any of you called me just to talk, not to discuss a business opportunity or financial need, but simply to connect as parent and child?" The uncomfortable silence that followed was answer enough. I've made decisions about our financial relationships moving forward, Eleanor said, gesturing to Richard. Mr. Patterson has prepared the necessary documentation. What kind of decisions? James asked sharply, his financial advisor persona emerging. Richard cleared his throat. Mrs. Winters has made several modifications to existing arrangements. First, all current commitments will be honored. Education trusts for the grandchildren remain intact. Pledged investments will be fulfilled. However, going forward, there will be no additional financial support for business ventures, property purchases, or personal expenses. You're cutting us off. Olivia's voice cracked. I'm changing the nature of our relationship, Eleanor corrected gently. Additionally, I've established the Winters Family Foundation for Meaningful Aging, which will receive a significant portion of my estate upon my death, alongside your inheritances. This is crazy. Nathan stood abruptly. You can't just rewrite decades of family understanding because of one overheard conversation. It wasn't one conversation, Eleanor replied calmly. It was the culmination of a pattern I've observed for years, but refused to acknowledge, and I have every legal right to determine how my resources are allocated. James's expression had turned calculating. Mom, making such significant decisions during an emotional period might not be wise. Perhaps we should take some time to question my mental capacity, Eleanor finished, watching James's face pale. Yes, I know about those discussions too. No one is questioning your capacity, Harper interjected smoothly. James is simply suggesting that important decisions benefit from reflection. I've been reflecting for 7 years, Eleanor replied. Ever since Robert died and our family relationships began revolving almost exclusively around financial matters. She turned to Dr. Mei Chen. This is where I hope Dr. Chen can help us. These changes to our financial relationship are necessary, but they're not the end goal. What I truly want is to rebuild our family connections on a foundation of mutual respect and genuine affection. Not monetary dependency, Dr. Chen nodded. Family systems often develop patterns that become self-reinforcing over time. When financial support becomes the primary mode of connection, both sides lose the opportunity for deeper relationship. Mrs. Winters is proposing not just financial changes, but a reset of family dynamics. This is ridiculous, Nathan muttered. We're being psychoanalyzed because we asked for business investments. No, Eleanor said firmly. We're addressing decades of patterns that have reduced me to a financial resource and you to perpetual dependence. Patterns that have prevented all of us from processing your father's death and moving forward as a healthy family. The mention of Robert created a visible ripple through the room. His absence, so rarely discussed directly, suddenly felt palpable. What do you want from us, Mom? Olivia asked, tears streaming now. I want authentic relationships. Eleanor answered simply. I want to know my children and grandchildren as people, not as financial obligations. I want connections based on mutual respect and genuine care, not economic advantage. And you think cutting us off financially will accomplish that? James's tone was skeptical. I think it's a necessary first step. We've never learned to relate to each other without money as the mediating force. This gives us the opportunity to try. Silence settled over the table as each person processed the implications of Eleanor's words. The pastries remained untouched, coffee growing cold in delicate cups. I'd like to say something. A voice spoke from the doorway. Everyone turned to see Lily standing there, composed but determined. Lily, Olivia began. This is a private family. This absolutely concerns me. Lily interrupted, entering the room fully. I'm the one who told Grandma about the group chat and your discussions about her mental capacity. The revelation sent another shockwave through the room. Marcus grabbed Olivia's arm as she half rose from her chair. You did what? I told her the truth, Lily said, moving to stand beside Eleanor. Because that's what families are supposed to do, tell the truth, even when it's difficult. Not plan strategies to extract money from each other. You had no right to invade our privacy, James said coldly. And you had no right to treat Grandma like an ATM with a convenient death date. Lily shot back. That's enough, Eleanor intervened. Lily shared information out of concern, not malice, and she's right, truth is essential to healing. Dr. Chen nodded. Perhaps this is a good moment to consider what each of you hopes for in your relationship with Eleanor, beyond financial support. The question hung in the air, met with uncomfortable silence. It was Nathan who finally spoke, his voice uncharacteristically reflective. I don't know, he admitted. I've been so focused on building businesses, proving myself successful, that I haven't thought about our relationship independent of that support. His honesty seemed to open a door for the others. I've always seen your financial backing as validation. Olivia confessed. Every time you funded a gallery or project, it felt like you believed in me when sales and critics didn't. James remained silent, arms crossed defensively. James, Doctor, Chen prompted gently. He sighed heavily. Fine. Since we're having this moment of family truth, I've spent my entire career trying to prove I could manage wealth as successfully as you and Dad built it. Your financial support wasn't just money, it was a vote of confidence in my judgment. Eleanor felt a complex wave of emotion sadness at how their relationships had narrowed, but hoped that these honest acknowledgments might create space for something new. I appreciate your candor, she said. What I've realized is that I've been using financial support as a substitute for the emotional presence I struggled to provide after your father died. Money was easier than vulnerability. Solving problems with my checkbook was simpler than sitting with grief together. The mention of grief shifted something in the room. Olivia wiped her eyes. We never really talked about Dad's death, did we? We handled the practical matters, but not the emotional ones. No, Eleanor agreed softly. We didn't. Perhaps that's where our healing needs to begin. Dr. Chen nodded encouragingly. Unprocessed grief can significantly impact family dynamics. Would anyone be willing to share what Robert's loss meant to them personally? What followed was the most honest conversation the Winters family had experienced in 7 years. Through tears and halting words, each person shared their experience of Robert's death, the shock, the unresolved conversations, the ways they'd tried to fill his absence. Eleanor spoke of her loneliness, her immersion in work to avoid the emptiness of their home. James admitted feeling overwhelmed by the perceived responsibility of becoming the family man. Olivia described her artistic block after losing her father's unwavering encouragement. As raw emotion filled the room, the documents on the table seemed temporarily forgotten. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about the broken connections they'd never properly addressed. I miss him every day, Eleanor said finally, her voice steady despite her tears. And I've missed you all too, even when we're in the same room. Somewhere along the way, we stopped seeing each other as people and started seeing each other as roles: the provider, the financier, the artistic one, the entrepreneur. I want us to find our way back to genuine connection. The conversation continued for hours, moving between painful honesty and tentative hope. Dr. Chen guided them skillfully, helping navigate difficult moments and highlighting opportunities for new understanding. Richard Patterson excused himself after ensuring Eleanor's legal intentions were clear, leaving the family to their emotional work. By late afternoon, exhaustion had settled over the room, along with something that felt cautiously like progress. No one was entirely satisfied with the new financial boundaries, but a foundation had been laid for more authentic relationships. I'd like to propose regular family therapy sessions, Eleanor said as the meeting wound down, not to dwell on past hurts, but to build healthier patterns moving forward. There were nods around the table, reluctant from James, thoughtful from Olivia, resigned from Nathan. It wasn't enthusiasm, but it was acknowledgement that their family system needed restructuring. As everyone prepared to leave, Lily approached Eleanor and whispered, I'm proud of you, Grandma. The simple words meant more than any financial success Eleanor had ever achieved. Here was connection based on genuine respect and affection, exactly what she hoped to build with the rest of her family. Eleanor watched from the doorway as her children drove away, each absorbed in their own thoughts about the day's revelations. The outcomes remained uncertain. Relationships built on financial dependency wouldn't transform overnight. There would be resistance, setbacks, perhaps even permanent fractures. But for the first time in years, Eleanor felt something beyond the hollow emptiness that had characterized her family connections. She felt hope fragile and tentative, but real. Today had been painful but necessary, the first step toward the authentic relationship she craved. As she closed the door, Eleanor remembered Robert's letter, led with the truth. It may not be the easiest path, but it's the only one that honors the family we've built. She had done exactly that. Now, the hard work of rebuilding would begin. 3 weeks after the explosive family meeting, Eleanor sat in Dr. Unchen's office, recounting the aftermath. James hasn't spoken to me directly since that day, she explained, absently adjusting the silver bangle on her wrist. He communicates through his assistant about the trust modifications, but avoids personal conversation. Olivia calls every few days, alternating between tears and tentative efforts at connection. Nathan's approach has been the most surprising. He's angry but engaged, challenging me at every turn, but at least staying in relationship. Dr. Chen nodded thoughtfully. These responses align with their established patterns. James retreats into professional distance when emotionally threatened. Olivia seeks reassurance through emotional expression. Nathan confronts directly, converting vulnerability to anger. And I enabled these patterns for decades. Eleanor sighed. You participated in them. Dr. Chen corrected gently. Family systems require all members to maintain the status quo. But you've taken a courageous step to change that system, which inevitably creates disturbance. Disturbance feels like an understatement. Eleanor smiled wryly. Harper called yesterday to inform me that they're postponing the twins' summer visit. She cited schedule conflicts, but the message was clear access to my grandchildren is now conditional. That must be painful. It is, Eleanor acknowledged, the hurt evident despite her composed exterior. But not entirely unexpected. James and Harper have always used the children as leverage in family negotiations. The difference now is that I recognize the pattern. Their session continued, focusing on Eleanor's emotional resilience as her family adjusted to the new boundaries. She'd maintained the course established at the family meeting, honoring existing commitments while refusing new financial requests. The foundation for meaningful aging was moving forward, with an official launch planned for the fall. There's something else, Eleanor said as their session neared its end. Lily has been visiting regularly. She's struggling with her parents' reaction to her role in all this. Olivia and Marcus have essentially frozen her out at home. Dr. Chen frowned. They're punishing her for the disclosure, not explicitly, but the tension is palpable. Lily says dinner conversations stop when she enters the room. Her college application process is suddenly her responsibility alone. It's subtle, but unmistakable. Scapegoating is common in family systems under stress. Lily violated an unspoken rule by exposing the dynamics, so she's being cast as the problem rather than the symptom. Eleanor's hands tightened in her lap. She's 17, caught in adult conflicts. I've offered her my guest room whenever she needs space, but I worry about coming between her and her parents. That's a legitimate concern, Dr. Chen acknowledged. Supporting Lily without undermining her relationship with Olivia and Marcus requires careful balance. Have you considered a separate therapy session for the three of them? Olivia refuses, says it would reward Lily's betrayal. Eleanor shook her head. I recognize the irony. I wanted authentic family connections, and now I'm navigating even more complicated dynamics. Transformation is rarely linear, Dr. Chen observed. The old patterns will resist change, sometimes intensifying before they release. Your job is to maintain consistent boundaries while remaining open to genuine connection when offered. As Eleanor drove home, she reflected on these words. The past 3 weeks had been emotionally exhausting but clarifying. The immediate withdrawal of her children when financial support was restructured confirmed her deepest fears about the transactional nature of their relationships. Yet moments of authenticity had emerged, too particularly with Lily, whose courage continued to impress her. Eleanor pulled into her driveway, noting a familiar car parked on the street, Nathan's Tesla. This was unexpected. He typically called before visiting. She found him in the garden, pacing with the restless energy that had characterized him since childhood. At 38, Nathan still possessed a boyish quality, despite his stylish haircut and expensive casual wear. Nathan, she greeted him, setting down her purse. This is a surprise. He turned, his expression a complex mixture of frustration and determination. Mom, sorry for showing up unannounced. I needed to talk to you, and I figured you'd screen my calls. I haven't been screening calls. Nathan, I've been respecting the boundaries we established. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so reminiscent of Robert that Eleanor felt a momentary pang. Right, boundaries. That's actually why I'm here. Eleanor gestured to the garden seating. Let's sit. Once settled, Nathan leaned forward, elbows on knees. Vanessa left yesterday, took Brandon to stay with her mother in Portland. Oh, Nathan, I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? His tone was challenging. Because it's directly related to your new boundaries. Without your backing, I had to shut down the startup. Vanessa says she didn't sign up for financial instability at this stage of life. Eleanor maintained her composure despite the accusation. That sounds incredibly difficult, but I'm curious, would you characterize your marriage as solid if it couldn't withstand a business setback? Nathan flushed. That's not fair. This isn't just a setback. It's starting over completely at 38, and it's not like you can't afford to help. You just decided arbitrarily that our relationship had to change. There was nothing arbitrary about it, Eleanor replied evenly. I made a considered decision based on decades of unhealthy patterns, and while I'm genuinely sorry about your marriage difficulties, I'm not responsible for Vanessa's priorities. Easy for you to say from your multi-million-dollar home with no financial worries, he shot back. You're right that I'm financially secure, Eleanor acknowledged. That security came from decades of work, strategic decisions, and yes, Some advantages you and your siblings have also benefited from extensively, but financial security doesn't create emotional fulfillment. Nathan, if it did, our family would be thriving. He was silent for a moment, conflict evident on his face. I don't know how to do this, he finally admitted, voice lower. I don't know how to have a relationship with you that isn't wrapped up in business and money. The honest vulnerability beneath his anger touched Eleanor deeply. I don't entirely know either, she confessed. That's what we're trying to figure out together. But why does figuring it out have to cost me my marriage and company? The anger had returned. Those were Vanessa's choices, Nathan, and frankly, if she leaves because you can't provide a certain lifestyle, perhaps that reveals important information about your relationship. He stood abruptly. I didn't come for a lecture on my marriage. Why did you come, Nathan? The question seemed to deflate him slightly. I don't know. To make you understand what your decisions are doing to us. To see if you'd reconsider, at least for the startup. We were so close to the next funding round. Eleanor regarded her youngest child, the baby she'd nursed through colic, the teenager she'd bailed out of trouble countless times, the man who'd never faced consequences without her intervention. I'm not going to reconsider the financial boundaries, she said gently, but I am here to support you emotionally through this transition. If you want to talk about the marriage or brainstorm next professional steps or just have dinner together as mother and son, I'm available for all of that. Nathan laughed bitterly. Right, because a heart-to-heart will pay my mortgage. No, it won't, Eleanor agreed. That responsibility is yours now, as it should be at 38, but connection with your mother might help with the emotional toll of these changes. He seemed genuinely confused by the offer, as if emotional support without financial backing was a foreign concept. After an awkward moment, he shook his head. I should go. Brandon has a Zoom call with his counselor later. Nathan, Eleanor said as he turned to leave, I love you, not for what you achieve or build or acquire, just for who you are. He paused, back still turned. I don't even know what that means anymore. After he left, Eleanor remained in the garden, heart heavy. Nathan's visit crystallized both the necessity and the cost of the changes she'd initiated. The dependency she'd cultivated had left her children ill-equipped for both financial and emotional independence. Breaking these patterns was painful, but essential. Later that evening, as Eleanor prepared a simple dinner, her phone chimed with a text from Lily. Can I come over tonight? Things are intense here after Nathan's visit. Eleanor immediately called her granddaughter. Lily, what's happening? Uncle Nathan came over after seeing you, Lily explained, her voice hushed as if hiding in her bedroom. He and Mom are in the kitchen having this huge argument about you and the money and family loyalty. Marcus took Brandon to the movies to get him out of the house. I'm sorry you're caught in the middle of this, Eleanor said. It's not your fault, Lily replied firmly. But I can't handle the tension right now. Can I use your guest room tonight? Of course. Do your parents know you're leaving? A hesitation. I left a note. They probably won't notice until morning anyway. They're too busy strategizing about the Eleanor situation. Eleanor sighed. Lily, I don't want to come between you and your parents. You're not, Lily insisted. They're doing that all by themselves. I'll be there in 30 minutes. After they disconnected, Eleanor sent a brief text to Olivia. Lily asked to stay in my guest room tonight. I've said yes, she's safe and welcome here. But I encourage you to communicate directly with her about your concerns. The response was immediate and heated. Of course you're encouraging her rebellion. First you turn our financial world upside down, then you turn my daughter against me. Well done, Mom. Eleanor decided not to engage with the accusation. Olivia's anger was understandable. If misdirected, time and consistency would hopefully bring clarity. When Lily arrived, her eyes were red-rimmed, but her jaw set with determination, reminiscent of Robert. She carried a backpack stuffed with overnight essentials and her sketchbook. Thanks, Grandma, she said, accepting Eleanor's embrace. It was getting toxic there. Over simple pasta and salad, Lily described the aftermath of Nathan's visit, how he'd arrived at Olivia's house, demanding a united front against Eleanor's ridiculous power play. How Olivia had vacillated between defending Eleanor's right to make her own financial decisions and lamenting the impact on her studio plans. How the conversation had devolved into old sibling rivalries and accusations. They don't even see how they sound, Lily concluded, twirling pasta on her fork. It's all about what they're entitled to from you, not what they could possibly offer in return. It's a pattern we all participated in creating, Eleanor reminded her gently. Change is difficult, especially when it disrupts something so fundamental to family identity. But it's not healthy, Lily insisted. Even I can see that, and I'm 17. Sometimes wisdom doesn't correlate with age, Eleanor smiled. Your grandfather would have appreciated your clarity. He was always the most clear-eyed about family dynamics. Lily perked up. Tell me about him. Mom never really talks about Grandpa Robert. Eleanor realized with a pang that Lily had been only 10 when Robert died, old enough to have memories, but too young to know him as the complex, remarkable man he'd been. Your grandfather was brilliant with business, but even better with people, Eleanor began, memories warming her voice. He could read a room, instantly know who needed encouragement, who needed challenging, who needed space. It made him an incredible leader and an even better father. So for the next hour, Eleanor shared stories of Robert, his unconventional business approaches, his passionate advocacy for arts education, his terrible but enthusiastic singing voice, his unwavering support through her early career struggles. He sounds amazing, Lily said when Eleanor finally paused. I wish I remembered him better. You have more of him in you than you realize, Eleanor replied. That artistic eye, certainly, but also your moral clarity, your willingness to speak truth even when it's uncomfortable. Those are Robert's qualities. Lily considered this, then asked tentatively, do you think he'd be disappointed in Mom and the others now for how they're acting about the money? Eleanor weighed her response carefully. I think he'd be sad to see how central money has become to our family relationships, but he wouldn't be surprised. He warned me for years about creating dependency through excessive generosity. What do you mean? Your grandfather believed in supporting you all to a point, then letting you find your own way. I was the soft touch, always reaching for my checkbook when obstacles appeared. Eleanor smiled ruefully. After he died, I doubled down on financial support partly because it was easier than dealing with grief together, partly because solving problems with money was familiar territory. And now you're changing the rules, Lily observed. I'm trying to establish healthier patterns, Eleanor corrected, not to punish anyone, but to create space for more authentic connections. Lily nodded thoughtfully. I get that. I just wish the others could see it too. They might, with time. Change rarely happens all at once. Later, after Lily had settled in the guest room, Eleanor sat in Robert's study, surrounded by his books and the subtle scent of his favorite leather chair. She'd maintained this space exactly as he'd left it a choice Dr. Chen had gently suggested might indicate unresolved grief. Perhaps it was time to consider transforming this room too, Eleanor thought, not erasing Robert's presence, but integrating it more fully into her current life rather than preserving it as a museum to the past. Her phone chimed with a text from James, the first direct communication since the family meeting. We need to talk. Professional capacity. Concerns about foundation structure. Available tomorrow morning. The careful wording spoke volumes. James was willing to engage, but only through the safe distance of professional consultation. Still, it was an opening. My home, 10 a.m. I'll have Maria prepare coffee. The next morning, Eleanor prepared carefully for James's visit. She selected a casual but elegant outfit, arranged the necessary documents in the living room rather than Robert's study, and asked Maria to prepare coffee and James's favorite almond pastries. He arrived precisely at 10:00, dressed in a tailored suit that served as both armor and identity. Eleanor recognized the subtle power moves, the designer briefcase, the checked watch, the formal greeting that established professional distance. James. She welcomed him warmly despite the chill. Thank you for coming. How are Harper and the boys? Fine, thank you. He remained standing, surveying the room. I see you've prepared the foundation documents. Efficient. Eleanor gestured to the seating area. Coffee Maria made those almond pastries you like. A flicker of softening crossed his face. Thank you. Once seated with coffee, James opened his briefcase and extracted a leather portfolio. I've reviewed the foundation structure Richard prepared. There are several optimization opportunities from a tax perspective. Eleanor nodded. I'm open to suggestions that align with the foundation's mission. For the next 30 minutes, James outlined various technical adjustments that would indeed improve the foundation's financial efficiency. His expertise was genuine, his recommendations sound. Eleanor listened attentively, asking clarifying questions and noting his suggestions. When the technical discussion concluded, an awkward silence descended. The professional pretext had been exhausted, leaving the personal elephant in the room unaddressed. Thank you, James. These recommendations are helpful. I'll discuss them with Richard. He nodded stiffly, closing his portfolio. That's all I had to cover. Eleanor took a deep breath. Before you go, how are you? Really not as my financial advisor, but as my son. His professional mask slipped momentarily, revealing confusion and something like longing beneath. I'm managing. The Madison Avenue Fund is underperforming in this market. Harper is considering a board position with the symphony. The boys are preparing for summer rowing camp. All external markers, Eleanor noted. Nothing about his internal state. And you, she pressed gently. Not your activities or achievements, but you. James looked genuinely perplexed by the question. I don't understand what you're asking. Are you happy? James fulfilled, at peace. He stiffened. This sounds like another therapy session. I came to discuss the foundation structure. I know, Eleanor acknowledged, and I appreciate your expertise, but I also miss my son. A complex emotion crossed his face, vulnerability quickly replaced by practiced neutrality. Mom, I can't do this. The family dynamics, the emotional processing, it's not my territory. It's human territory. James, connection isn't a specialized skill set, it's a basic need. He stood abruptly. I should go. I have a client meeting at 11:30. Eleanor didn't push further. Thank you for coming. The door remains open whenever you're ready for more than professional consultation. After James left, Eleanor felt the familiar mixture of sadness and resolve that had characterized these weeks of family transition. Her eldest son was perhaps the most entrenched in the established patterns, his identity so thoroughly fused with professional achievement that personal vulnerability felt threatening. That afternoon, Eleanor had a revelation while reviewing foundation documents. What her children needed wasn't just boundaries around money, but opportunities to connect through shared purpose. The foundation could provide that vehicle, a family project focused on giving rather than receiving. She immediately called Richard Patterson to modify the foundation structure, incorporating roles for family members interested in contributing their expertise. James's financial acumen, Olivia's artistic vision, Nathan's technology skills all could advance the foundation's mission while creating new contexts for family interaction. Next, she called Dr. Chen to discuss the approach. Creating structured opportunities for contribution is excellent, the psychologist agreed. It offers dignity and purpose rather than dependency. However, be prepared for resistance. They may interpret this as manipulation rather than invitation. I understand the risk, Eleanor replied. But continuing as we are feels like watching three separate estrangements unfold in slow motion. I need to try something proactive. Then frame it carefully, not as requirement or expectation, but as genuine invitation. And perhaps start with Lily, who's already demonstrated interest in authentic connection. Eleanor considered this thoughtfully. Lily mentioned interest in gerontology as a potential college major. The foundation's focus on meaningful aging might align naturally with her interests. Exactly. Build from existing connection rather than trying to force new ones. The others may be drawn in by Lily's example. That evening, Eleanor invited Lily to dinner specifically to discuss the foundation. Over roasted salmon and quinoa, she outlined her vision for the Winters Family Foundation for meaningful aging innovative programs, addressing isolation among seniors, intergenerational connection initiatives, dignity-centered care approaches. This is amazing, Grandma, Lily said, genuinely engaged. It's addressing real needs beyond just writing checks. Thank you, Eleanor smiled. I'm considering a youth advisory board to incorporate perspectives from your generation. Would that interest you? Lily's eyes lit up. Absolutely, I've been thinking about gerontology for my major. This would be perfect experience. Wonderful. And perhaps you might help design our visual identity. Your artistic skills combined with your connection to the mission would bring something special. They spent the next hour brainstorming possibilities, Lily's enthusiasm growing with each idea. Eleanor observed her granddaughter's animation with quiet joy. This was connection based on shared purpose and mutual respect, exactly what she hoped to rebuild with the entire family. Do you think Mom and the others will get involved? Lily finally asked, intuiting Eleanor's broader intent. I hope so, when they're ready. Your mother's artistic direction would be valuable for our communications. James's financial expertise could maximize our impact. Nathan's technology perspective could help us reach younger supporters. Lily nodded thoughtfully. A family foundation where everyone contributes their strengths instead of just asking for money. It's kind of brilliant. Grandma, we'll see. Eleanor smiled. Change takes time. The following week brought an unexpected development. Eleanor's regular medical checkup revealed concerning blood work results, prompting her doctor to order additional tests. She kept the information private, not wanting to worry family members already navigating significant changes. After a tense few days, the diagnosis arrived: early-stage lymphoma, treatable but requiring immediate attention. The oncologist outlined a treatment plan: 6 months of chemotherapy followed by radiation, with good prognosis given Eleanor's overall health and the cancer's early detection. Sitting in her car after the appointment, Eleanor felt oddly calm. The diagnosis clarified her priorities even further. The foundation, the family healing, these weren't abstract legacy projects anymore, but urgent work with new timeline constraints. She drove directly to Dr. Chen's office, grateful when the receptionist squeezed her in between scheduled appointments. This changes everything and nothing, Eleanor explained after sharing the diagnosis. The structural changes we've initiated are even more essential now, but the time frame feels compressed. Dr. Chen nodded compassionately. First, I'm sorry about your diagnosis. How are you feeling about it emotionally? Strangely purposeful, Eleanor admitted. The prospect of mortality has a way of cutting through ambivalence. Have you decided how to tell your family? Eleanor sighed. That's why I'm here. I don't want the diagnosis to become emotional leverage that reverses the healthy boundaries we've established. If I tell them now, they might revert to performance rather than authentic connections showing up out of obligation or future inheritance concerns rather than genuine care. That's a legitimate consideration, Dr. Chen acknowledged. However, withholding significant health information also prevents them from making informed choices about their relationship with you. Exactly my dilemma. I want authentic connection, but I don't want it manufactured by a cancer diagnosis. They discussed various approaches, eventually determining that Eleanor would disclose the diagnosis at the next family therapy session, scheduled for the following week. This setting would provide structure and support for the emotional reactions while maintaining focus on the broader relationship healing. One more thing, Eleanor said as their session concluded. I'd like to accelerate the foundation launch. If treatment affects my energy or capabilities, I want the structure firmly established. Dr. Chen nodded understanding. Focusing on legacy projects is a common and healthy response to health challenges. Just ensure you're balancing that work with proper self-care during treatment. Eleanor left with a clearer plan, but a heavy heart. The family meeting scheduled for Tuesday suddenly carried even greater significance, not just another step in their ongoing work, but potentially the beginning of a different chapter altogether. That Saturday, Eleanor was surprised by an unexpected visitor. Olivia appeared at her door mid-morning, looking both determined and uncomfortable. Mom, she began awkwardly, I was hoping we could talk. Eleanor welcomed her daughter inside, noting the portfolio Olivia clutched her standard accessory when preparing to present creative projects. Would you like coffee? Eleanor offered. Maria made banana bread this morning. Olivia nodded, following Eleanor to the kitchen. Unlike James's formal distance or Nathan's confrontational approach, Olivia had always managed family conflict through emotional appeals. Eleanor wondered which strategy her daughter would employ today. Once settled at the kitchen island with coffee, Olivia opened her portfolio. I've been thinking about your foundation, she began. The focus on meaningful aging is important, especially with the demographic shifts happening. Eleanor nodded encouragement, pleasantly surprised by this opening. I've developed some concepts for the visual identity, Olivia continued, revealing several elegant design boards, a cohesive look that conveys dignity, wisdom, and intergenerational connection. The work was genuinely impressive, thoughtful typography, a sophisticated color palette, imagery that challenged stereotypes about aging. Eleanor recognized the significant effort these concepts represented. These are beautiful, Olivia. You've captured the essence of what we're trying to achieve. Olivia's tension visibly eased with the praise. Thank you. I spoke with Lily about her involvement with the Youth Advisory Board, and it got me thinking about how I might contribute. I'm delighted you're interested, Eleanor said carefully, watching for the pivot to financial needs. But Olivia surprised her. I'd like to offer my design services pro bono for the foundation launch, a complete identity package, website design direction, print materials, everything you'll need for a professional presentation. Eleanor blinked in surprise. That's incredibly generous, Olivia, but it represents significant work. Are you sure you can commit that time without compensation? I'm sure, Olivia said firmly. I've been reflecting on our family meeting and the patterns we've established. This feels like a step towards something different, contributing value, rather than just requesting it. The sincerity in her daughter's voice touched Eleanor deeply. This was the first genuine offering any of her children had made since the boundaries changed, a gift of talent and time rather than a request for resources. I would be honored to have your creative direction, Eleanor said warmly. The foundation deserves the best, and that's undoubtedly you. Olivia smiled, the first unguarded expression Eleanor had seen from her in weeks. I've started talking with a therapist, she admitted quietly. Separately from our family sessions, she's helping me see how I've used your financial support as validation for my creative worth, a substitute for professional confidence I never developed. That takes tremendous courage, Eleanor acknowledged. Both the therapy and this self awareness, it's hard, Olivia confessed. Harder than I expected. But watching Lily's integrity through all this, her willingness to speak truth regardless of consequences, it's been eye opening. I don't want her modeling her life on my dependency patterns. They spent the next hour reviewing foundation plans, Olivia offering valuable insights about connecting with younger supporters and creating compelling narratives around aging with purpose. For the first time in years, they engaged as colleagues with mutual respect rather than as patron and supplicant. As Olivia prepared to leave, she hesitated at the door. Mom, about Lily staying here sometimes. I've been unfair. My anger about the financial changes spilled over onto her. And that wasn't right. She understands more than you might think, Eleanor assured her. Still, I need to do better. Olivia sighed. Marcus and I have been taking our frustration out on each other and on her. It's not the home environment she deserves. Parenting through financial challenges is difficult, Eleanor acknowledged. But remember, you and Marcus have talents and resilience that have nothing to do with my financial support. Lily needs to see that modeled now more than ever. Olivia nodded thoughtfully. I'm trying to remember who I was before the galleries and grants the creative person with fire and determination, not just connections and funding. She's still there, Eleanor smiled. And frankly, she's more compelling than the woman who measured her worth by donation sizes and opening night attendance. After Olivia left, Eleanor sat in her garden, heart lighter than it had been in weeks. One conversation couldn't heal years of unhealthy patterns, but it represented genuine progress, a child offering contribution rather than seeking support, acknowledging dependency patterns rather than justifying them. Tuesday arrived with Eleanor feeling both prepared and apprehensive about the family therapy session, where she would disclose her diagnosis. Dr. Chen had arranged for an extended 90-minute appointment to accommodate both the regular family work and the health discussion. To Eleanor's surprise, all three children attended James arriving precisely on time with his typical professional demeanor, Olivia bringing preliminary foundation designs to share, and Nathan appearing last with obvious reluctance, but present nonetheless. Dr. Chen began by acknowledging the progress made in individual conversations while noting the continuing challenges of establishing new family patterns. She invited each person to share briefly about their experience since the previous session. James spoke of professional developments and the twins' academic achievements, external markers that maintained safe distance from emotional vulnerability. Olivia described her foundation design work and recent therapy insights with cautious openness. Nathan mentioned Vanessa's continued absence and his preliminary job searching with reluctant candor. When Eleanor's turn came, she took a steadying breath. I have something important to share, she began, meeting each person's eyes in turn. Last week, I was diagnosed with early-stage lymphoma. The prognosis is good with treatment, which will begin next Monday, 6 months of chemotherapy, followed by radiation. The shock in the room was palpable. James froze in his characteristic stillness when processing difficult information. Olivia's hand flew to her mouth, eyes immediately filling with tears. Nathan leaned forward, face paling visibly. Mom, Olivia whispered, why didn't you tell us immediately? I needed time to process the information myself. Eleanor explained calmly, and I wanted to share it here, with Dr. Chen's support, to ensure we address this as a family rather than fragmenting into individual reactions. This changes everything, Nathan muttered, running his hand through his hair. Actually, it doesn't, Eleanor countered gently. The cancer requires treatment, yes, but it doesn't change the importance of rebuilding our relationships on healthier foundations. If anything, it makes that work more urgent. James had remained silent, his expression unreadable. When he finally spoke, his voice carried an unusual tension. I knew something was wrong. Everyone turned to him in surprise. What do you mean, Doctor? Chen asked. James shifted uncomfortably. 3 weeks ago, I was helping Richard with some estate documentation. A medical bill was mixed in with the paper's pathology lab work. I didn't say anything because... He trailed off. Because you were respecting my privacy, Eleanor suggested. No, James admitted, looking down. Because I was afraid if I mentioned it, you'd think I was only concerned about inheritance implications. The raw honesty was uncharacteristic. That's how broken our relationship has become. I couldn't even ask my mother about a medical test without fearing financial motives would be assumed. The painful truth of his observation hung in the air. Dr. Chen nodded encouragingly. That's an important insight, James. How did you feel, carrying that concern without expressing it? Terrible, he acknowledged quietly. I've been checking your calendar when Harper couldn't see. calling your assistant with invented business questions to determine if you were keeping appointments. I even drove by the house several nights to see if lights were on at normal hours. Eleanor was stunned by this revelation of covert concern. James, I had no idea. How could you? He met her eyes directly for the first time in weeks. We've established a relationship where I only approach you with financial matters. Asking about your health didn't fit the pattern? Dr. Chen nodded. This illustrates exactly how constricting unhealthy family patterns become preventing even basic human concern from being expressed authentically. So what now? Nathan asked, his typical impatience emerging through shock. You're sick, but you still want us to pretend money doesn't matter, to play happy family while you're going through chemo. I don't want pretense, Eleanor said firmly. I want authenticity, which might include anger, disappointment, and grief alongside love and concern. Real relationships encompass the full emotional spectrum. The diagnosis creates both challenge and opportunity, Dr. Chen observed. Challenge because health crises often reactivate established patterns in this case, potentially reverting to financial dependency as a proxy for emotional connection. Opportunity because facing mortality often clarifies what truly matters in relationships. I don't want to use this diagnosis as leverage, Eleanor explained. I'm not sharing it to make you feel obligated to repair relationships or show up out of duty. I'm sharing it because it's significant information that affects our family, and withholding it would be another form of unhealthy communication. Olivia was openly crying now. Mom, whatever issues we've been having, you can't possibly think we wouldn't want to support you through cancer treatment. I know you care, Eleanor assured her, but care can take many forms, some helpful, some potentially harmful to our longer-term healing. What does that mean in practical terms? James asked, his analytical mind seeking concrete parameters. It means I welcome your emotional support, your presence, your assistance with practical matters during treatment. But I don't want my diagnosis to reverse the healthy financial boundaries we've established or create obligation-based interactions. Nathan shook his head in disbelief. Only you would turn cancer into a boundaries lesson. Mom, despite the tension, Eleanor laughed softly. Perhaps, but consider the alternative using illness to reestablish the very patterns that have prevented authentic connection in our family. I want your love, not your performance of concern, to maintain inheritance prospects. The directness of her statement created momentary silence. That's harsh, James finally said. It's honest, Eleanor countered, and honesty is what we need now more than ever. Dr. Chen guided the conversation skillfully as each family member processed both the diagnosis and its implications for their ongoing relational work. By session's end, practical arrangements had emerged naturally. Olivia would accompany Eleanor to Monday's treatment. James would research complementary therapies and support groups. Nathan would set up a family calendar to coordinate care without overburdening Eleanor. One more thing, Eleanor said as they prepared to leave. The foundation launch is scheduled for October. I'd like all of you involved in whatever capacity feels meaningful, not out of obligation, but as an opportunity to create something significant together. I'm already working on the visual identity, Olivia offered. I could review the financial structure, James added cautiously. Nathan hesitated. The technology infrastructure needs assessment. That's something I could handle. Eleanor felt cautious hope bloom. Whether motivated by the diagnosis or genuine evolution, her children were taking small steps toward contribution rather than consumption. As they left Dr. Chen's office, Eleanor found herself walking beside James toward the parking lot. He slowed his pace, allowing the others to move ahead. Mom, he said quietly, I've been meaning to ask how are you really doing with all this? Not just the cancer, but everything. The simple, human question, free from financial subtext or professional distance, brought unexpected tears to Eleanor's eyes. Some days are harder than others, she admitted. I miss the easy familiarity we used to have, even knowing it was built on unhealthy patterns. I worry about the foundation's impact if my energy decreases with treatment. I wonder if I've left this work too late. James nodded, his typical armor momentarily lowered. For what it's worth, I think you're incredibly brave. Changing family dynamics is hard enough without adding health challenges. Thank you, James. That means a great deal coming from you. They walked in comfortable silence for a few steps before he spoke again. Harper and I have been talking. The twins have been asking about you not just since today's news, but generally. They'd like to come for dinner this weekend, if you're feeling up to it. Eleanor felt a surge of genuine joy. I'd love that. Maria could make that pasta they like. No agenda, James clarified. No financial discussions or foundation planning. Just family dinner. That sounds perfect. Eleanor smiled. As they reached her car, James hesitated, then did something he hadn't done in years. He hugged his mother, briefly but genuinely. We'll get through this, Mom, all of it. The simple assurance carried more healing power than any medical treatment. Eleanor drove home with tears blurring her vision occasionally, but they were complex tears, sorrow mixed with hope, fear tempered by purpose. The coming months would bring physical challenges as treatment began. The family healing remained fragile, subject to setbacks and old patterns emerging under stress. The foundation work required energy she might not always have available. Yet, as Eleanor pulled into her driveway, she felt something unexpected: gratitude for clarity of purpose, for the opportunity to rebuild what mattered most, for moments of genuine connection breaking through calcified patterns. Robert's words from his final letter echoed in her mind: lead with the truth. It may not be the easiest path, but it's the only one that honors the family we've built. She had done exactly that, even when truth created pain and resistance. Now, facing cancer treatment and family reconstruction simultaneously, Eleanor understood something essential: love that demanded truth was the only love worth fighting for, in sickness and in health, in conflict and in reconciliation, in breaking unhealthy patterns and building new ones. The foundation's name suddenly struck her with new meaning. Meaningful aging wasn't just about programs for seniors or intergenerational connection initiatives. It was about ensuring that one's final chapter, whether long or abbreviated, reflected core values and authentic relationships. Eleanor Winters, at 65, was finally learning how to age with meaning by demanding truth from herself and those she loved most, whatever the cost and whatever the outcome.